Hello and welcome to game 3 of Rudan, who is spawning as the brown elf in the top right, versus Palm Cash, who is spawning as the blue orc in the bottom right. So, apparently blue orc is funny. I'm not sure I got it, but it's good to know. So, that there's always jokes going around. Gotta like those. So again, this is the third game. I think this might have been the first game played. Whatever, and whatever. So yeah. So we do see, of course, a pretty standard early game so far. Nothing too much to talk about here. I got you last game on red. Maybe this is the third game. I don't really know the game order. It's very confusing. This could even be the second game then. I have no idea. But either way, this is for our purposes. If you haven't watched the replays or seen the results, this is game number 3. So, hooray. So, here we do see, we actually are seeing a no barracks so far orc. So he's going to get the barracks either later, or he might just go for a quick tech. Looks like this might be going to go ahead and build that barracks, or it might just be going to scout, but there it goes, throws down the barracks. So we're going to see the orc grab whatever items are going to come from the voodoo shop. And we see that the wisp is scouting over here on the minimap somewhere. He's going to have to get to that. He's going to find the orc last, of course. And we don't see any AOWs up yet. He may be going with the hunt build. Let's see, that's one AOW down, and he's going to throw down a hunter's haul. So yes, we will be seeing hunts. And back at the orc base, we can see that with this sort of a build, generally the orc is looking to scout. He's going to find out exactly where the elf is, but he's looking to come either at this shop right here and creep, or over here at this shop and creep. And he can pretty much creep items right there. There's tomes that he can grab, and so that's nice. Here we do see the demon hunter going ahead and picking up a circlet and a dust of appearance while aggroing the creeps just ever so slightly. That's very effective against a blade master who is looking to go ahead and go to these shops and buy a circlet, which is what I think we were going to see. And we're probably going to see him try to item creep this troll right here. And what you do is you kill the troll, and as you can see, if you do it right, these ogres can attack you. I think he's taking a little bit more damage than he needs to because of this ogre, but either way, he's going to be fine. And there he goes, he repositions it to fix it. And he's going to grab this tome, and he's going to get away, and then he'll be able to cast his healing salve. And he did buy that circlet of the circlet of nobility right there from the shop. And now he has options. And he can either go over here and item creep and try to go for that circlet that the demon hunter has already purchased, that we can see over here. Or he can run around and try to do other things. He might be looking for the demon hunter right now. I'm not entirely sure. We do just see a little bit of solo hero play from both heroes. Looks like over at the orc's base, we do see the demon hunter is attacking a burrow that is trying to go up, almost getting surrounded by that grunt or stuck in the base. Not a complete surround because he would have still been able to get out, but basically just keeping him in here would have been a very nice little tactic for him. But as you can see, the demon hunter is saying, I'm not going to let that happen. And now that burrow does finish, and one of the peons goes in it to help fend off the demon hunter. We do see the blade master is creeping over here. He's creeping a green, just basically taking experience where he can. As you can tell, that healing salve was used to full efficiency to get him back to full. Back at the orc space, we can see the orc pretty much in a standard position, just starting the attack. And if we look over at the elf space, we can see he does have attack. He does have the huntresses on the way, and getting the ever so important ultra vision upgrade, which is of course one of the most important and vital upgrades an elf can get. You can see the elf is creeping over here. It looks like he's scouting around with his huntress, or perhaps even going to the tavern, but it looks like he's not quite close enough to tier 2 to do that. The huntress is very likely going to see this creep right here, and in fact he has managed to scout the creep, and he goes for the steal, and I'm not sure if he just got it actually, but if he very well might have. I'm not sure. I don't think he did, but it was very close. He is harassing this blade master with his huntress, which is a good play, and we can just see it's basically not doing too much, but it is causing this orc to take quite a bit more damage. The orc has to be a little bit careful here because, as you can see, another huntress is coming in, and if we notice, this demon hunter did decide to go back to the base to use a moonwell, but had it decided to come straight here, it could have been quite bad for the orc. So we are seeing him attack this huntress, and the huntress is running away with red HP. The blade master did go to the shop to pick up a dust, and there we see a dust coming off from the Demon Hunter onto the Blade Master. So that was allowing him to see the Blade Master whenever he goes Windwalk. And at this point, the Blade Master does not have enough mana to go Windwalk again, and so it's not too big of a deal. We do see a very nice surround going off on this Huntress, and now a lot of focus onto the Blade Master being forced to retreat. So while it was a very nice surround, the Blade Master is in a bad position. He has to run away. He's unable to continue to, as you can see, he can't actually go back down to his base. He's been kind of forced up rather than down by the movement of the Demon Hunter and the Huntress. And now we're going to see him basically just try to run away. He does not have a healing salve on him, but he does go ahead and use a Clarity, so he's going to be able to Windwalk away very shortly here in just a second. It takes 75 mana. And we look over at the elf base. We can see he is tier 2. He's putting down an Ancient of Wind. And if we look back at the Orc space, we can see that there's actually an Ancient Protector. Okay, an Ancient Protector over here. I'm not entirely sure if the elf was just maybe looking to say, well, I might be able to do some tier 2 damage here with this protector. But here we do see this going down, and we do see that the Blade Master has just enough mana to get away. Actually, he had enough mana for 2. And we do see that this Ancient Protector is about to go down to this final grunt. Another grunt, one grunt is running away, being chased by the Beastmaster, down to almost 100 life. The Blade Master has picked up a healing potion, and he's basically just trying to pick off units where he can. If we look back over here, we can see that this grunt is not in a great position here. Down to 50 life, he may very well be able to deny himself, though. And he was able to deny himself, so the elf does not get any experience. And the Blade Master decided to quit chasing that Huntress, because he would instead prefer to come over here and try to get this item if he can. So he's going to try to creep the XP and the item by finishing it off just like that, and he manages to do so perfectly. He gets the item, gets the experience, and he gets to Windwalk away without any negative consequences. Very nice. The Shadow Hunter is out, and you can see that he has a healing salve and a speed scroll, both of which are very useful. We do see a grunt that is at very low HP right here, 311, 312 life. The Blade Master is running back to the base while we go ahead and see the Shadow Hunter creeping out this creep camp. Very nice. We do see this AOW is going to be used to help creep out this creep camp, this shop right here for the elf player, which is very vital because it helps speed up and helps tank, which means that if the elf does get jacked around on a camp like this, which I don't think he's in much danger of being jacked right here, maybe by the Blade Master itself as he comes in, but other than that, I don't think he's in much danger because there's not a very huge orc army, as you can see, and but it does help if if a jack does come off, because the AOW, as you can see, takes so much damage. That's 800 damage that would have been dealt to the elf army, that is instead dealt to a building that can simply repair itself. See a little bit of harass going off on this Druid of the Talon. While the Blade Master has been has a Fairy Fire cast on him, which means if he goes invisible, the elf can see him, and he also takes a lot of extra damage from attacks because he loses all the armor that Fairy Fire causes him to lose, which I believe is 4. I'm not entirely certain on that. Druid of the Talon does go down. We are seeing some really nice play right here. We do see a Spirit Link out. Spirit Link is very vital in these fights because, of course, it splits up the damage quite nicely, and basically it makes Focus Fire a lot harder. We're going to see an Ensnare go off onto the Huntress, and it's going to go down. And, of course, also Spirit Link synergizes very well with Healing Wave from the Shadow Hunter. So this fight, pretty good for the Orc so far. He's not really lost much. He's managed to be pretty careful about things and just picking units off. He's going to lose a Grunt right here, though. The Grunt goes down, but he does manage to get a Druid of the Talon in trade for it. Not a huge deal, but another Grunt goes down, in fact, so that means the Orc is out of Grunts. And we do see a little bit of damage going off onto the Demon Hunter, so the Demon Hunter is going to have to use a Moonwell, and he's only got 2 left to do that. So not the greatest thing considering it's not even halfway through the current day, but not a terrible position, much better than being in a position where you can't use a Moonwell. And of course he does go ahead and pop down a Moonstone, which makes it night, so he can regenerate some more mana on these Moonwells. So that's good, very good. And now he's going to either decide to creep a little bit or try to jack the elf somewhere or the orc somewhere. He is tier 3, so he's almost finished his master training on the Druids of the Talon. He may be picking up a Tinker here at the tavern. In fact, he does go ahead and pick up the Tinker. And we can see down here that the Orc is basically going to run back to his base after a little bit of creeping right there to go ahead and perhaps buy some healing salves and heal up. So the elf is actually going to hit him at a pretty good timing here, because he's going to be trying to heal up, and so his best bet might be to just run away from this fight. But in fact, he actually decides, never mind, I'll just do a lot of damage to your Demon Hunter and force you to TP away. And he might not TP away. In fact, the Demon Hunter has a Invulpot pass to him, and he casts that. So he needs to get out of here within the next a couple seconds, or he's going to be forced to teleport before. And he goes ahead and teleports out. That way he doesn't get killed. He doesn't want to lose his Demon Hunter. If he loses his Demon Hunter, which is the only character, the only hero that had a teleport scroll on him at that point, he would have lost several more units trying to run away, or perhaps even the entire game, because that would have been a very unfortunate position for him to be in, especially against 4 raiders, which can ensnare units as they try to run away. So that's a good play. It was a good timing attack by the orc, or by the elf, however, because as you can see, it really didn't do too much to his damage, to his army, and he was able to do a little bit of havoc on the orc army as it was trying to regroup and rebuild and get back to full life. So you can see yet another AOW creeping. Again, the AOW just gets to walk around wherever it needs to, and it doesn't have the upgrade, so it's a little bit slow, and it doesn't have as much armor as it could, but it's enough to get it to where it needs to go, especially with the good timings that we've seen from the undead so far. And actually, the Blade Master went in to pick up an item, and I'm not sure if he managed to nick one of them or not. There was a hawk right there who could see the Blade Master as soon as he runs in. He has invisible detection on that hawk, and that allowed him to go ahead and cast Cyclone. I believe he was able to pick up one of the items, however, on his Blade Master, maybe both. I'm not really sure. I think it was that scroll of the beast scroll that cast the roar. I'm not entirely sure. But he did go ahead, and it looks like he sold it for in favor of an Invulpot and perhaps even a healing scroll on his Shadow Hunter. Here we do see a fight going off, basically just a little bit vying for positioning with these creeps, really throwing in the whole mix in the whole water. The elf unable to really get the positioning he wants because the creeps are flanking him, and the orc is saying, I'm not going to take a bad fight because I know I can take these positioning anywhere I want. If you try to run away, I do have these raiders who will ensnare your units and I'll kill them. So basically that's what we're seeing happen here. Again, we do see a couple of Spirit Walkers on the field, but not really enough to really be able to start spamming the spell on these summons just yet. So we do see, of course, the Invulpot going off on the Blade Master. While he focuses down the Demon Hunter, the Demon Hunter manages to get a TP at 40 HP just in the nick of time. One more hit probably would have killed him. Definitely 2 more from pretty much any units there. So that's good for the elf to get out of that fight. But again, he didn't lose too terribly much. Again, as you can imagine, the biggest loss here is going to be to his Moonwells, who are going to have to spend virtually all of their mana to heal that Demon Hunter, but not a huge deal, again, just because it is nighttime right now, early on in the night, and those are going to be able to get to heal quite a bit more throughout the night. And yeah, so we do see that the Orc's army is actually getting quite nice size. If we look at it, it's 50 food, and we can see that the Elf army is also very much to 50 food. And we can see that a Fairy Dragon is coming out, and a Fairy Dragon is, of course, very effective against the Spirit Walkers that we have, the Shadow Hunter, and really the Blade Master as well, honestly. Because what happens with the Fairy Dragons, again, is basically it'll go into Mana Flare, and anytime anything casts a spell, it'll take a miniature mana burn type of deal from the Fairy Dragon while it's channeling its phase thing. So, or its Mana Flare. So we do see that. We do see the expansion, or the Orc throwing down an expansion. Not a quick expansion, however, it is just a regular old run-of-the-mill Tier 2 expansion, or a Tier 1 expansion that's being built by a peasant, or a peon. Of course, if you don't know, the Orc at Tier 3 can buy a thing called a Mini Great Hall, and it allows them to throw down an expansion that gets built in about 10 seconds. Usually it's better to go ahead and do that if you can, but if you're not Tier 3, then of course you cannot buy one, because that is the tier requirement for that item. Over here we can see that the Elf is creeping, as well as, of course, the Orc creeping over there, creeping in his shop. We actually see 2 Fairy Dragons, and quite a few Druids of the Talon. If we look back to his base, it looks like he's pretty happy right now, just banking a little bit of gold. He might go ahead and decide to throw down an expansion somewhere. This would, where he just crept out, would not necessarily be the best place to throw down an expansion, but you can place one right here, so it's relatively hidden if a scout comes looking over this way. It has to kind of get back to here usually, except, actually, unless it's daytime, where it's you can see a little bit farther. One of the great things that we can say about the early game Ultra Vision upgrade that the elf has managed to get, which allows him to have that great extra vision at night, of course, that it is going to be effective for scouting in Orc expansion. However, the Orc expansion cannot ever be placed behind the gold mine, so basically it's just more allowing him to scout this way rather than all the way in. But not a huge deal either way. It's not a bad idea to run in. We do see the AOW going down slightly earlier. I think the elf wanted to bring it in with this attack, and of course the Orc just so happened to be at his base at that point in time, so it didn't really get to help out as much. Now the Orc right now is in a better position for waiting and taking this to the late game. The Blade Master being very careful to not be saw by that Hawk as he runs around, and again, just because the elf currently does not have an expansion and the Orc is about to have an expansion. So we can see some peons running down here to start mining gold, which will be helpful. And if we look back at the Orc base, we can see that he still has about 3.3 thousand gold left in his gold mine. He has plenty of wood. He's up to almost 1,000 wood, and he's left just 2 peons on wood. So that means he's been mining at 7 peons on wood the whole game, which is pretty standard amount. We can see that the Blade Master is trying to be a little bit sneaky in here to come in here, and he's just going to get Cyclone, just not quite sneaky enough. This isn't the greatest position for a Blade Master to be in, because he doesn't want to get Cyclone too much, and now he's going to get Fairy Fired, which means that now the elf can keep tabs on that Blade Master until that Fairy Fire is dispelled, which will take quite some time. As you can see, it's still on, and until that icon starts to blink, when the icon starts to blink, that's when you know that there's only 10 seconds left on the buff. So here, that we know that it's still got at least 10 seconds, and that's just one of the things you can note until it was actually dispelled, and it was dispelled by a Spirit Walker. Because as you know, as we noticed, it takes quite some time for that just to wear off on its own. So Cash apparently thinks something is very funny. He said Rofl, 1k mana. Oh, let me see. Where is his Shadow Hunter? Wow, 970 mana. That is a lot. That is 250 from the pendant of mana they just picked up from that red camp, 150 from a pendant of energy, which you can get from various camps on the map. That's 2 robes of the Magi and a circle of nobility. That is going to make this an incredibly difficult fight for the elf here. It's going to have quite a bit of the Demon Hunter taking quite a bit of damage. He's hexed, and he's going to go down. No, he manages to get an Invulpot off at 20 HP, very close. And the Shadow Hunter being burned, but still has over almost 600 mana, and he has a mana potion as well. The Demon Hunter being forced to TP out. Lots of fighting going on here. However, the Orc is clearly in a better position here, just because he's able to spam those healing waves and keep his units up and his army up at a very quite nice high life count. And the Orc's expansion is actually up. He's at 667 food, which is contrasted with the only 57 food from the elf, and the elf does not have an expansion. So this is definitely in favor of the Orc right now. His Shadow Hunter is absolutely insanely baller. I mean, holy crap, 970 mana. That is a lot of mana. You're not going to get through that with burns. What you're going to need against that is you are going to need, I don't even know, you're going to need to kill the Shadow Hunter or something, or Cyclone it whenever he's going to go to Healing Wave. You're going to have to do something to get out of the fight, because he's not going to go at that rate. As you can see, these Healing Waves are just going off non-stop Healing Waves. We do see quite a bit of units dying here, but not really seeing too many of the Orc units dying. Between the Spirit Link and the Healing Waves, they are very, very tanky. Not taking a huge amount of damage, and lots of Cyclone going off, but cycloning smart targets. He's cycloning, trying to keep the Kodo Beast in the air, trying to keep it from getting any Devours off, and we do see so much action right here in this fight. It's a very big fight, but of course, it looks to me like the Orc is doing pretty well. Lots of the Orc units are very low. He really needs to get a healing scroll or something. He should go ahead and pop that potion of mana or buy a healing scroll or do something. He's brought the mana, he sold his circlet. Nobility used the healing scroll, and as you can see, again, most of his units are back up. However, the elf is doing a lot better than I thought he would be in this fight, just despite the fact that he was behind 10 food going into the fight, and on top of that, the Shadow Hunter having so much mana, having literally 670 mana going into that fight. But again, the elf has actually managed to chase back the Orc, which is quite impressive. Very good use of Cyclone on the Blade Master to keep his DPS out of the army fight, and by really smart keen targeting, he did lose a fair amount going at the start of that fight, but as you can see, he's already back up to 47 food. I'm not sure how much he lost, but he did do about 10 food's worth of damage to the elf, about the same that was done, or to the Orc, which is about the same that was done to the elf. Not the greatest position for him, given that the Orc does have the expansion and he does not, but Again, we actually are seeing Nature's Blessing being researched here. That's very important because that's going to allow him to uproot his main and go place it down somewhere else very quickly. We do see a little bit of a cyclone going off on the Shadow Hunter. Shadow Hunter is level 4. The Demon Hunter has been almost surrounded, but he manages to use an Invoke Potion to stay alive, to stay alive, to prevent being surrounded entirely. A little bit of fighting going on here. Lots of focus fire going down, picking units off. The summons are very good. The elves spread on his army, basically making it very hard for the orc to get a desirable position with his raiders. He has quite a few raiders, but he can't really get him into a position that he likes to really be able to manage to focus off units too much. As you can see, they can't really get in there. They're trying to go, and you can see that very low HP Druid of the Talon, with the proper positioning of the units surrounding him, was basically allowing only a single raider to get in there and attack him. So very good micro, very good micro here, that we're seeing quite a bit of damage going on to the Blade Master. The Blade Master does have a potion of healing, so he will be able to heal up if he needs to, but he's not really been able to do a lot of damage in these fights. As you can see, he just keeps getting put in the army in the air. We do see that the Kodo Beast has eaten a summon, which is good because the summons do a lot of damage, and we're seeing a lot of damage and lots of fighting. The orc is kind of trapped right there in a bad position. He's doing what he can, and he's trying to pull this out, but as you can see, the Shadow Hunter is very low HP. The Shadow Hunter almost completely dying right there. Managed to pick up a healing potion just in the nick of time, but not the greatest position. It looks like that Kodo Beast is going to go down. Actually, it looks like the orc is going to lose this game. Wow, he definitely did not have the advantage in this, or he definitely had the advantage going in, I'm pretty sure, unless I missed something, but it looked to me like he had the advantage going into this fight. He did have an expansion, he had the army food count advantage, he had a huge, very buff Shadow Hunter, but those Cyclones are just absolutely deadly, picking off that Blade Master and keeping him from doing what he wanted to do. Blade Master now taking a lot of damage. He doesn't have anything. He needs to buy a healing potion or a TP scroll or something, and he buys the TP scroll just in the nick of time to get out. He doesn't have any kind of healing scrolls, it doesn't look like, or healing salves or anything. And taking that little Tinker Might Clockwork Goblin, not able to kill anything because of the healing wave, of course, and not looking good for the orc. Not looking good for the orc at all here. As you can see, there's quite a few dots in play, and the elf is managed to move to go ahead and throw down in the Tree of Life over there, so he's getting his expansion up. So he's not going to end the game, and well, like that. But the good game is called from the orc, and so that's a good game. Well played. So that ends the conclusion, and that means that Rudan won 2-1 against Cash, and moved on. So I actually think that was, I've referred to that as the semifinals in a couple of times. Let me go ahead and state that must have been the quarterfinals, right? I think, or maybe it was the semifinals. I don't know. I really don't know. Actually, I need to look that up. I'll look that up and I'll reflect it in the titles. So from here on, here in a minute, I'll go ahead and find out, and I'll rename the games. Instead, if it is semifinals, then I'll keep it semifinals. But if it's quarterfinals, I'll change it to quarterfinals. I'm not entirely sure, but like I said, I'll go ahead and have that in the link or in the titles, and I'll be fixed, and we'll see. So yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching. It was a great little series of 3, and see you next time.